guys? Welcome back to another, I guess the first Zeke Said So out of the theater reaction. I just got out of the theater, just saw Uncharted. I am sitting in my car right now, about to go home, and I want to talk about this movie for a second. I don't know what to think exactly, because a part of me really enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed it. Now, look, you got to understand, I'm a huge fan of the video games. The Uncharted video games are what made me actually start playing more video games. I love the Uncharted games. I have ever since I started playing the first one. Like, as soon as I played the first one, I had to play the next one, and I played the next one, and I played every single one. Even the spin-off game that came out, I did play a little bit of that one. So I was really excited. And you guys know I was not a big fan of the casting of Tom Holland as Nathan Drake, or the casting of Mark Wahlberg as Sully. Now, I will say the casting is really good. I thought Tom Holland was a good Nathan Drake, for the most part. I thought Mark Wahlberg, killed it as Sully. Like, he was probably my favorite part of the entire movie. Like, anytime he was on screen, and anytime him and Nathan Drake were having their little back and forth, I thought it was entertaining. And there's a lot of fan service in this movie that I, as a fan, got giddy about. Like, I turned over to my friend, I went, you know, because as a fan, it was nice to see those moments. But I think, number one, I thought the villains were completely one note. Not that Uncharted had the most fleshed out villains. A lot of the Uncharted villains were pretty much the same character. They were all driven by greed. In this movie, yeah, you have the villain that is driven by greed. But it's like they weren't terrifying enough. Like at least in all the Uncharted games, yes, all the villains were driven by greed, but you were somewhat terrified whenever because of their presence, it just made you as the player feel as like, oh no, something bad's gonna happen because these guys are around, you know. Whereas in the movie, it just feels like, oh, they're there. Well, should I be feeling something here? And also, I don't know what I can say without spoiling the movie. I thought the third act, a lot of people are really praising the third act with, you know, you see it in the trailers, but the third act involves these two ships being held out by helicopters. In my opinion, look, all the Uncharted games have these over-the-top big action sequences. I get it. But this one just felt like it was pulled straight out of the Fast and Furious. It didn't feel like Uncharted. It just felt like I was almost expecting Vin Diesel as Dominic Toretto to come in and save them at the last minute. You know? And I'm not gonna give away specifics as to what happens, but there were just certain things that I just was questioning. I was like, okay, how is that happening? What's going on here? Who am I supposed to focus on? And it just felt a little clunky. And some of the writing, I will say, is a bit lazy. But overall, as far as the tone, I really liked the tone. I like the casting. Some of the action, for the most part, is pretty good. I just feel like here's overall how I would say this. This movie needed a combination of two things, or it needed to pick one or the other. It needed a better director, a better writer, or a combination of the two. Because I thought the direction, especially in the third act, was a little bit, it was off. And I thought the writing was a little bit, like I said, the writing I felt like got lazy, especially during that third act. The writing just got completely lazy, and it just became, again, it was just like, wait, so what am I supposed to be focusing on? Who's doing what? And it just, like, again, it just got messy after a while, and I just found myself getting lost in the third act. But that being said, as many problems as I had with this first one, I do want to see another one. I do want to see a sequel. I want to see if they can improve, if they can actually take the things I didn't like about this one, and if they can improve upon. Because I think there's a solid foundation here to build a franchise out of. There's enough solid foundation here that if they do one of those three things, better director, better writer, or a combination of the two, if they do one of those three things, this could be a good franchise, a big blockbuster franchise on the level of, like, Mission Impossible. This could be like a new Mission Impossible for a new generation, where each one just gets better and better and better as it goes along. But again, that's if they, number one, either get a better director, they either get a better writer, or they have a combination of the two. Because I don't want this to be the norm, where you get a mediocre script with just a bunch of fan service thrown in there, and then that will make the video game fans happy. But again, they're not making this they gotta realize, Sony has to realize, they're not just making this for fans of the Uncharted franchise. Now, I will say, I'm gonna go see it again with a large group of friends. So I will see how I feel about it the second time around, and I'll probably give my thoughts more. I'll probably go more in depth, maybe on the Zeke Said So show. Not this week's episode, because this week's episode we're talking about the Oscars. But maybe next week's episode I'll go more in depth on it. And that will give audiences, everyone, enough time to have seen the movie. That way I can go more in depth on spoilers. But I don't know. I think, like I said, either a better director, a better writer, or a combination of the two would have really saved this movie, and I would have walked out going, I love that movie. I loved it. But as I sit here, and the more I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, maybe the script was messy. The third act was really messy. Like, they kind of lost me at the third act. Because, like I said, the majority of this movie, when they're, like, crawling through the, like again, I won't get into specifics, but there's obviously, it's an Uncharted movie. If you've played the games, you kind of know what to expect when they're figuring out the puzzles with the things. I can't get into specifics, so I can't really talk about it, but yeah, I don't know what to say without spoiling the movie. So, but overall, guys, like I said, I enjoyed it enough. I liked it. I didn't love it. The script was messy. It was a very messy movie, and the direction, I normally like a lot of Ruben Fleischer's movies. I really like Zombieland. And I enjoyed the first Venom, but I feel like this movie, I don't know, it just feels like Ruben Fleischer was actually trying to direct a good movie, but then literally after a couple days of actually trying to make a good movie, he kind of just took off and went home for the day, and they got someone else to direct the third act. Because I'm telling you, that third act just feels like it's directionless, and it's just so messy that it doesn't feel like the same guy directed the rest of the movie. It's just like, I don't know, like, I'm trying to piece it together, but again, overall, like I said earlier, I enjoyed it enough that I wouldn't mind seeing a sequel to this. But again, they have to do they have to do one of these three things: a better director, a better writer, or a combination of the two. And they also need to find someone who understands this particular franchise, this particular, they need someone who understands it. Because for me, I just don't feel like Ruben Fleischer understands Uncharted. And I don't feel like the writers do either. I feel like if they're gonna do a sequel, they need to find someone who really understands Uncharted and who understands what this franchise needs to be successful, and doesn't rely on fan service to make it a good movie, So I enjoyed it enough. As out of 10, I don't know what I would give it out of 10. I'm gonna give it a 6. Again, I liked it enough that I will give it a 6. If it hadn't had those moments as a fan where I went, oh look, or if the dynamic between Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland didn't work, this movie probably would have gotten either a 5 or a 4. But because the dynamic between Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland works so well, I'm gonna go with a 6 out of 10. I'm gonna go with a 6 out of 10 for now. So those are my thoughts. Those my out of the theater thoughts. I know I was gonna make this quick, but I ended up going on way longer than I wanted to. But I am also gonna give you guys my. You guys will see my quick reaction, my social media reaction. So go follow me on Instagram if you haven't. Once again, a brand new episode of the Zeke Setso Show drops this weekend. Make sure you guys go and check out the Zeke Setso Show on the podcast feed. The podcast feed link will be in the description of this video. So make sure you guys go check that out. Thank you guys so much for watching, guys. And if you guys like this video, please give a thumbs up and subscribe. I think I subscribe my channel because Zeke the Geek said so. And I will talk to you guys later. Peace out.